Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 4th July 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled "In a Plastic Crisis." So this is about the growing usage of plastic and how the unpopular plastic turned as a savior in COVID-19 crisis, and an insight into how plastic is not the actual problem but its management is the main problem. So the significance of plastic management lies in the fact that it has been playing a key role in protecting people, whether you take the case of PPE kits for healthcare workers and frontline workers fighting the battle of corona. However, given the poor management of our plastic waste, it is the informal workers who are the most vulnerable in this pandemic times. So corporations are rethinking recycle plans and sustainability commitments in the face of this economic turmoil. So the increase in this single-use plastics will have a long-term impact on the environment. Now in this scenario, how do we ensure that a versatile, affordable and ever-present plastic is not a threat to the long-term sustainability of our environment, and how we can keep using these in hospitals and protect our frontline workers during this crisis. So they are the bedrock of medical equipment and protective care, and they are absolutely unavoidable in these times. Can we replace them in this present times? So the simple answer is, as the demand has been skyrocketing for masks, gloves, gowns and disposable bags, one thing is very clear: plastics cannot be eliminated from our life in this present times, especially not during this pandemic. But there is only one part of the bigger story. The devastating impact of COVID-19 and the extraordinary measures taken around the world have left to some very tough questions for those working to combat plastic pollution. Now the big question to these crusaders who were protecting the rhetoric or the narrative surrounding plastic pollution: how do we support those in our community hit hardest by the outbreak and yet ensure that plastic is completely phased out? Can the recycling industry survive COVID-19? Can we still achieve a circular economy for plastics? These are the questions that are plaguing those who believed in this cyclical economy. So if we have a look at the pre-coronavirus times, what are the plastic waste management rules in our country? So it is in this context we have had the extended producer responsibility, wherein which says that the onus of collecting and managing this waste is with the producer of these waste, but it is nowhere close to being implemented even after 2 years. Now if we take the example of Thailand, which has completely banned the disposable plastic bans at major stores and had planned to cut down plastic waste completely by 2020, now expects to see such waste rise by as much as 30%. So this is not a problem that is pertinent just to the Indian condition. Even if you take the case of Indonesia, as many as 63,000 workers were completely laid off from the recycling industry. Now there is this bring your own movement where consumers were urged to bring their own utensils to the restaurants in the effort to reuse and recycle, and this has received a complete blow because that was not a successful movement. So there is a need for a complete behavioral change. It is in this aspect we have to understand that plastic is not the actual problem, and the way we are dealing with this problem is the actual problem. So we have to handle the waste rather than completely saying that we have to eliminate it. We need plastic, but not the single-use plastic. So this is the difficult thing to understand. It is important to understand this distinction between normal plastics and single-use plastics, so we may change our behavior and our lifestyles to suit the need of plastic and effectively managing them. Secondly, we have to enforce the extended producer responsibility rules very strictly, and at the same time we also have to bring about a change in our behavior. So our economic survey has been talking about nudge theory on how we can actually change the behavior of people. That is how we can effectively contain this plastic crisis. That is the gist of this article. The second article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Lessons for India, and this is regarding the 2012 Italian Marines case. So if we go back into the history of this case, what happened was in 2012 Indian police caught two Italian Marines who were posted on a oil tanker called Enrica Lexi. So what they did was they shot at two Indian fishermen on an Indian vessel because they mistook them for pirates operating near the Kerala coast. So this fishing vessel that we're talking about, that the Indian fishermen were dealing with, was well within the India's contiguous zone. What is this contiguous zone? Now, to understand what this is, you have to know UNCLOS, UNCLOS. So when a particular ship is said to be within 24 nautical miles from the shore, that particular area is called the contiguous zone. So this Kerala ship was well within the contiguous zone of our country. So it was very clear that the offence warranted arrest and prosecution under domestic law, that is our country's law, not international law. So the tribunal's ruling that the Marines have immunity comes 7 years after Supreme Court ordered the centre to proceed with the investigation and trial of the Marines in a decision in 2013. The Apex Court had ordered the centre to set up a special court to try this case, but even before that, Kerala High Court found that the Marines enjoyed no immunity. In 2014, what happened was the Marines had successfully gained a stay order on the investigation by NIA. A year later, Supreme Court froze its own proceedings, and when the case reached the International Tribunal, Supreme Court completely gave up. This International Tribunal we are talking about is ITLOS, or International Tribunal on Law of Seas. It is this case that the present judgment is relevant. So the Permanent Court of Arbitration at Hague, so it admitted that both India and Italy had concurrent jurisdiction in the matter, but concluded that Marines' immunity is precluding India's jurisdiction. So there is this diplomatic immunity under Vienna Convention. It specifies the very privileges of a diplomatic mission that enables diplomats to perform their functions. So it was in India's favor that PCA found the Italian vessel had indeed violated the international norms as well. So it is under the Article 100 of UNCLOS, the PCA rejected a key argument by Italy that India, by leading the Italian vessel into its territory and arresting the Marines, violated its obligation to cooperate with measures to suppress piracy. However, despite all this, just because Supreme Court has accepted that there shall be no appeal on whatever might be the response or the judgment of Permanent Court of Arbitration, we cannot appeal now. So here are the main concerns. This award, which is final, has been accepted by India, and it is a huge setback for the expectation that they would face a criminal trial in India. Now, what we have to take away from this issue is the fact that the Union government could have taken over the prosecution and inquired a quick trial. That did not happen, and therefore Supreme Court ruled that only the centre and not Kerala can prosecute the Marines after some parallel legal action by both centre and the state governments. Also, there was this diplomatic hurdle in the form of NIA investigation invoked the suppression of unlawful acts against safety of maritime navigation and fixed platforms on Continental Shelf Act. So this caused a diplomatic furor as it provides for death penalty also. So at this time, EU threatened to impose trade sanctions also. Overall, India can say that we have to take this as a experience and develop upon our capacities, especially in the legal and diplomatic domains. There is a long time call for developing expertise in international law, especially in the external affairs ministry, and there have been long time calls to create a professional body that carries out research in international law and international relations. So that is the gist of this article.